everyone, welcome into the Flippin' Hippos YouTube channel. I'm Star the Flippin' Hippo. Today I'm going to do one of my most requested and long awaited videos, or at least part one. Today I'm going to show you how I measure jeans and get them ready for photographs, and then later on in the week I'm going to do part two and show you how I photograph the jeans. And then there's going to be a part three where I show you my templates and how I actually list the jeans. So I get most of the requests to show people how I measure and photograph them because I always talk about how I have a way of doing it that avoids extra strain on my back. I can do most of it sitting down, and it's a really simple, easy way for people with disabilities or chronic pain, whether it's in your back or your legs or standing for long periods of time hurt you. This is a really good way to do it, and people have been asking to see it for a very long time. So I am going to break it up into three parts. It's going to be measuring, photographing, and then listing, but you guys will basically get to see from step one all the way through to the end how I prep, prepare, photograph, and list our jeans. So without further ado, this is the table. And if you didn't see it, I did put this table in our Facebook group New Year's Day. I put it in there. It was an Amazon affiliate link. I don't know if it's the exact same table, but it's very similar. It's about 3-4 feet long. It's very light. It folds up in the middle. So if you don't have the room to leave it out all the time, you can fold it up in the middle. There's a handle. You can move it. I'll actually put the link for this down in the description box. It's relatively inexpensive. It's cheap. It's a nice table. We also use it for shipping and for the jean measuring and photography. But it's a really nice table because it's light. So you can push it around the room. It folds up out of the way when you don't need it. And I think it's a really good height to work at when you have a bad back. If you have an adjustable rolly chair, you can go up higher or lower as needed for your back needs. But I think it's a great height to work with. So the first thing I do is I measure and prepare, or measure and prep jeans first, and then I photograph. I usually take 20 pairs of jeans and cut the tags off of them, inspect them, do all the measurements, and the next day I'll photograph all 20. So I don't try to do 20 pairs of jeans in one day. That's a lot to ask for anyone with chronic back issues or pain. But if you wanted to do the photographs in the same day, you could cut it down to like 10. Maybe you prepare and measure 10 pairs and then photograph them in the same day. As you do this, more and more and more, you will get faster at it. So it takes me about 40 minutes to measure 20 pairs, and that includes cutting off the tags and inspecting them. I go through the pockets and all of that. We do wash all of the clothing that we source before it comes in the house. It actually stays in the car until it gets washed and dried and brought in. But some things are still in the pocket sometimes, so I just double check. So it takes me about 40 minutes to do all that. And then the next day when I photograph them, it takes me about 40-45 minutes for 20 pairs of jeans. So if that seems like, holy crap, really fast to you guys, just keep in mind that as with anything in life, the more you do it with repetition, you're going to get faster. But if you need to do the photography as well as the prep in one day so you can have something to list, you can always just do 10 pairs, and that should take you probably like an hour, maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours if you're new and you're not quick yet. So what I suggest, and this is not a very good example because this is just a hodgepodge, because right now I don't have a lot of jeans in the house. You guys know we're not sourcing until the spring and I'm working through death piles. But what I will typically do when I sort through my jeans and I get 20 pairs ready, I try to get all similar. So if I have a lot of plus size, I group those together. If I have a lot of smaller sizes, I group those together. And I make sure same brands are together. This is important later because when they stay together like that, eventually when you load your photographs in and you're listing, you can do sell similar, and it helps increase your speed there. So what I'll do is on this very table, I'll count out 20 pairs, and any that are the same brands go together, the plus sizes go together, the men's go together, and the smaller sizes. And then I'll stack the 20 on one rolly chair. So that's the other thing that I talked to you guys about that helps me so much with my reselling business and how I work with a disability. I have lots of rolly chairs. Rolly chairs are a godsend for people with bad backs or any kind of chronic pain because you can just move them around the room. You don't have to lift. You don't have to push anything heavy. You guys can see I have one here that has men's shirts, and then we keep our women's stuff over here. These are our desk piles. But I do have the one I sit in, and I have 2 extra. I don't know if that's feasible for all of you, but at least have 1 extra that you don't sit in to help you out a little bit. So I'll take the 20 pairs that I'm about to work on, and I put them over here on my right. And then I have an empty one here on my left. You can work left to right if you want. I just work right to left because I kind of do things backwards because I'm left-handed. And then we have this utility cart here, and I'll put a link to this in the description box as well. I think this is about $15 maybe. I could be wrong, but I will put the link to it. It's inexpensive. You put it together yourself, and it's also on wheels. So I cannot preach that enough to you guys. If you have disabilities, things on wheels, things that are light, are what you need for your business. So this too is on wheels. It has 4 shelves. We keep all of our shipping supplies and all of our prep supplies on this cart, and all of our, I guess that counts as shipping. Thank you. Anyway, this wheels around the room. It's got a lint brush or tape. I mean, it's got like everything on it. And you can hang bottles from it. So if you use alcohol or awesome or anything like that, that goes on there as well. And typically my scissors and this are on there, but I take them off when I'm doing measurements. And I keep this close to me just in case I need anything from it. So what I'll do is I'll take the first pair and I fling them out. And I do this all sitting down. And I usually will also have either a show streaming on Hulu or Netflix. And I watch that as I work, or I'll run a podcast. There's one called Serial Killers, and there's one called My Favorite Murder. And I'll just listen to a podcast or watch a show while I do this. And that's kind of how I know it takes me about 40 minutes, because I can time it with what I'm watching or listening to. So you saw me check the pockets. And then I'll put them around this way. I write the measurements down. I don't take photographs of them. I write them down on scratch paper that I will use at the time of listing. And I've got an old one here to show you. It's very not even professional. I've got 20 pairs on there. And I keep these on my desk until I list them. If you need a better system than that, like if you need to be more organized, you can. This is all I need. And then I throw it away when I'm done. This is old scratch paper that I use. So I'll write the brand and the size here. And now I'm going to show you guys how to measure. When you measure the waist, you just want them laying naturally. And you go from one side to the other. And all measurements are approximate, so you don't have to be exactly perfect. I would call this 129. So that's a 29-inch waist. When you do the hips, you want to go right below the zipper. And I take 2 hips and take the average. So you go from the seam here to the outer edge. That's 32. And then you go from the outer edge here to this seam, and that's 31. So I would say 31 because I think it's better. They're approximate, and you want to put that in your description. But it's better to err on the side of smaller than larger. If someone with 31-inch hips bought this and they had a little bit of room, they're less likely to return it than someone with 32-inch hips and it's a little bit tight. This is how you get your rise. So right here, there's always like that overlapping piece where the crotch is. I hate that word, but for lack of a better term. So you want to put your measuring tape right there. Your front rise goes to the top part here by the button. So this front rise would be 8. And this back rise, again, it's approximate. It's not quite 11.5, so I'd call that 11. Then you want to get your leg opening. This is what typically, well no, this is actually what determines if something is skinny, boot cut, or flare. So this one, not quite 6, so I would say 5.5. That's an 11-inch leg opening. You can always take it off of it and lay it down to double check it. So these are skinny. And then, actually a little bit more organized so I have more room. But you can spread these out. This table's so perfect, I'm telling you. So when you get the end seam, you want to go all the way up here again to where the seam is with your measuring tape. And you want to follow that. You don't want to go straight down like that. You want to follow that seam to the edge. So that's a 28-inch end seam. To get the out seam, you go from the top of the waist straight down, and that's a 36 out seam. So that's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 measurements, right? Yeah, so that's 7 measurements. It seems like a lot. You don't have to do that many. I absolutely recommend you do that many with women's jeans because women are so picky, and it's not our fault that we're picky. It's really hard to find a good pair of jeans that fit really well for women. So I absolutely recommend putting all of those in just to offset any problems. And also the good part about measuring your rise, you can tell if they're mid, low, or high-waisted. When you measure your leg opening, you know what you're dealing with as far as skinny, flare, and boot cut. It's just good to have them. Now with men, you can be a little more lax. Like with men, I'll probably just get the waist, the hips, and the inseam because men's jeans seem to be more uniform across different brands. All the sizes seem to be the same. Whereas with women, you can have the same size jeans and the same brand, 2 different pairs that are different. But that is how I measure them. And I would write each one of those measurements down on my paper. And then I just fold them in half like this. And I lay them there. And eventually I'll have 20 pairs stacked up. And then you'll see next time how I do the photographs. And just rinse and repeat until you have all of them done and stacked over here. And then you're ready to do your photos. So if you have any more questions about this part of it, the measuring and the prepping and all of that, let me know in the comments. I'm sure some of you are going to ask, how do you know by measuring the rise and the leg opening if it's flare or boot cut? I actually have some very good websites for that show you pictures and stuff, so I can include all that down in the description box. There's also sources in our group if you go into files and photographs, like group photo albums. There's a lot of sources in there where people have added websites that tell you what the measurements mean, and they show you pictures and stuff. But I'll include some of that down in the description box for you guys, and you can study that. And also keep in mind, it's also how they look. So when you lay pants out like this, if they're boot cut, they typically are wider down here, and they kind of flare out like that. And then flare, they come in way more at the jeans, and they flare way more out. They look more bell bottom. But again, I'll include a bunch of information for you guys in the description box, some educational materials that you can study. And again, like with anything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. You'll start to memorize it. You'll start to just know by looking at your measurements when you're listing if something is low rise, mid rise, flare, or boot cut. You can just kind of look at the jeans and tell. It comes with practice. It comes with learning. So make sure that you utilize all of the websites and the tools I'm going to give you in the description box to help you guys out. So I wanted to say that because I know that's going to be one of the questions you guys are going to ask the most. Hit the thumbs up before you leave if you would. It really helps the channel. If you haven't already and you'd like to, please subscribe to us and help us feed a hungry hippo. Join our Facebook group, Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod, and you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm at Flippin' Hippos across all social media. Until next time, go be productive, go make some money. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. Bye.